So next topic is the Selenium exception. Before we proceed, let's recall the exception. What is an exception? Anyone wants to give a try on that? As we have already covered this. Quickly. Nothing yaad? Okay. No
handle particular error or something.
At least the try catch flow to handle a particular error or something. But what is an exception? Exceptions are some events due to which our program ends abruptly without giving the expected output. Like we have faced the same few minutes ago, right? So that was the exception. Those are the exceptions are the events due to which our program closed abruptly without our expected output. Okay. The process of handling those exceptions are called exception handling. Now, talking about the Selenium exception, there are so many exceptions. In the Selenium Webdriver, but there are mainly like I'll go with the most common ones. First one is the element not selectable. I will not write exception. Element not interactable. Element not visible. No such element. No such frame. Then comes no such alert. No such alert present. Then I have written over here. Null pointer exception, element not interactable, still element reference. Yes. Still element reference exception. This is the most important one, huh? What is happened? This is the most important one. Still element reference exception. The other one we have already covered, the element not visible. The other exception is like session not found, timeout exception, and the last one, the one we have, then the one we got was is like element not interactable, right? We got that one, huh? Hello.
Yes, Nirvish.
Which exception we got? Element not interactable only. That element, that exception we got, right? The Selenium, those exceptions are the Selenium exceptions.
Okay.
So, how to handle those exceptions? Sorry. How to handle the exceptions? Everyone know.
Try catch.
Try catch block, right? So I will not tell you that you have to write down the try catch block, but I will tell you that when can we get this exception. Mostly you will get this exceptions in your automation script. First exception, element not selectable. So element not selectable, it means that we have some selected elements like the checkbox or the radio buttons, or in the drop down as well, we do select some element, right? So when those elements are disabled and we try to select it, it means how we select it, we perform the click action, right? When element is disabled and we try to perform any action like click action, then we get this type of exception. This occurs only with the disabled checkbox or disabled radio button or the disabled drop down. All right, fine. Element not selectable. Second is element not interactable. What could be the this case? Element not interactable. We have seen this just few minutes ago. Element is not in a state where it can be interacted with in spite of being present in DOM. In our last script, even though that link was visible, even though that link was present, right, in the DOM, but still WebDriver was not able to click it because it was hidden under that progress bar, overlay, right? So that means that element is, so at that time it will throw element not interactable. Okay. The other thing is that there could be a case like let's say there's a button, okay, and in that button you perform some other action, like you try to type something, you perform send keys, or there is a checkbox, or there's a radio button, and you do send keys operation. So in that case it will throw this type of exception that element is not interactable. Will it? No, it will not throw that type of exception. It will throw some other exception like no state, not correct state one, but it those is irrelevant. It is clearly logical that you will not perform those type of exception. You will perform only click where it has to be clicked. You will perform only send keys where send keys needs to be done. Okay, but everyone got the idea for the element not interactable. Element is not in state. An element is not in state where it can be interacted with. Example, for example, element is hidden under any overlay. Overlay means pop-up. Even though pop-up is there, and then you try to perform some operation on the element hidden behind that pop-up. Okay, so you will get this type of exception, element not interactable exception. Next is element not visible. So when can we get this type of exception?
When page took longer to load and we tried to click at the moment, or some functionality is not completed and we're trying to access some element.
No.
Okay.
Can you please repeat the last part, Udit?
I said when some functionality is not completed and when we try to access next element.
No, this will not be the case. So, in the web page, you may have seen that for some of the pages, like not some of the pages, for some of the elements, a particular part or a text of web element is only displayed when you perform some action, like in the input forms we were having something like when you clicked on some button, it was displaying some message, right? It was displaying some message. If I remember, over here, input form, I think the simple form demo only. When you click on button, only this was displayed, right? This text is displayed only when you perform the click. What it means that this element was already there. This element was already there, but it got displayed only after performing some action. So element is present. So element is present, but the type or the display type is set to hidden. I'll take the example of this one. That one was not proper. I can see. I think with this one, John. Okay. When I type John, the other rows, right, in which Mike or something was there. For those rows, the display is set to none. That element is present in the DOM, this one, but it is not displayed. It's not displayed to us, or it's not displayed to the WebDriver, because for this one style display set to none. For rest of the one, the display is set to something else, table or the, as you can see, the tr in the tr tag display is set to none, right? So for all this type of element, if we try to perform some action, then we get element not visible exception. Even see, for these elements, you will be able to find that when you perform drive.find element, it will return the element, but you cannot perform any action because element's visibility is set to none. Okay. Hello. So whenever you whenever you get this type of exception, element not visible, check in the DOM for that particular scenario if the element's visibility is set to none or not. Okay. Element not visible, it means the element is present inside the DOM, but it's not displayed to the WebDriver or to the end user. Okay.
Okay.
So whenever you get this type of exception, you have to wait for that element to be visible. Okay, or do some necessary action so that element is visible. So in my case, I will remove this so that display none will be removed and the rest of the web element will be displayed again, or rest of the rows are displayed again. Okay, so do the proper action if you get element not visible exception. That is the first thing. But if you think that your script is doing perfectly and still element is not displayed, then raise a bug. Do this, perform the steps manually and check if element is displayed or not. No, do not think that my script is wrong every time. Sometimes you will get the correct bug as well. You'll find the bug as well. Okay. Next is no such element. Easy. No such element. अरे बोलो.
कोई आइडिया नहीं.
No such element. The name itself says that there is no such element.
Maybe idea name is incorrect in that case.
No, idea name is not incorrect, not in that case. So, but possibly is that you will get in that case only you will get no such element exception. What happens is that WebDriver, this exception mainly you will get at the line number at these lines driver.find element.
Correct.
Correct. So if the incorrect locator is given or the locator has been updated, then driver will not be able to find that element, right? So in that case, you will get no such element exception. So when you get this, first check the locator if the locator is correct or not. Okay, then do necessary thing. So it's not like every time you have to handle try catch whenever you get the exception. You need to check in the script as well if the locator has been updated or not, or is there any actual error or not. Okay, fine. Hello. Hello.
Yes.
જાગો 11:30 થવાય. I know. થોડું જ બાકી છે and I know it's theoretical. Next is no such frame. Same like element, but this is applicable only for the frames. It means the iframes. WebDriver attempts to switch the particular frame, but that frame is not available. Then we will get no such frame exception. So for example, in our iframe demo, we have written over here that line number 34, driver switch to frame. But if the frame with this name or the ID is not visible, is not present, right, while switching, then it will throw no such frame exception. Next exception was no such alert present. So same over here as well in the alerts. When WebDriver is trying to switch to the alert, but the alert is not present, alert is not displayed, then it will throw this exception, no such alert exception. Okay. Next exception was stale element reference exception. But we come to this later. Session not found. Session not found. Let me give you the hint. Can you find something related to session over here after the Chrome driver was started? Observe.
A session has been created.
Okay, session has been created. So whenever the WebDriver or the browser is launched, okay, one session is created. Now when we see this exception, session not found, what does that mean?
Means this when the session get expire and we are trying to access that
When session will expire?
after certain defined time. I'm not sure how much time.
The default timer for any session is 30 minutes.
Okay.
But obviously our script will not run that longer. Right?
Yeah.
Most of the time our scripts will execute in like 2 to 3 maximum 2 to 3 minutes.
Correct. So does it mean the same that when the session expired, so at that time, does it show this exception?
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely it will throw that exception. But when the session is expired, it will throw that exception. But when the exception will be thrown in the like say in the definition itself, I have said that in the definition of what is an exception, exceptions are events due to which Java program ends abruptly, right? So here some action needs to be performed. Then only this action will be then only this exception will be thrown. If the session is expired and our script is sitting idle, then no exception will be thrown. There has to be some command executed in the script so that particular this exception will be thrown. So what will be that command? Like after which event uh, uh, after which event we will get this exception. Easy, easy. It's very easy.
After create session.
After create session is started.
Yeah.
Session has started and the browser is active. So I can now I can open the URL. I can click on any link. I can click on the button. I can do typing. I can fill the form. I can do everything when the browser is open. But if the browser is closed and I write open the URL, will it work?
We could close it manually, then it will show this kind of message,
No,
right?
not the manual. Even say, let's say that in my script, I have called this thing browser commands dot close browser, and then I have written like this driver dot get something.
Okay. In that case, also it will show the same message. Understood.
In that case, it will throw session not found exception
because no
because
exceptions are there.
So when we are closing the browser, it means that we are ending that session. Okay. Hello.
Okay. Yes.
So once the session is ended, we cannot perform any other operation. So even in the manual case only, I have closed the browser. Now I want to open the something. Then can I do it? And then now I want to do surfing. So to surf again, I need to relaunch the browser, right? After closing the browser, I cannot open the google.com. So the new session we have to start. All right. Same as the manual. Clear? What the session not found. Next type is the timeout exception. Timeout. So mainly you will get this exception when you have used explicit wait.
Explicit wait, correct.
Okay. So what we do in explicit wait? Yes, Udit, go on.
Sorry, in explicit wait, we'll wait for particular condition to get full wait, but after certain time, if that doesn't happen, it will time out automatically.
Correct. If the condition is not fulfilled or matched after the waiting period which we have given, then it will throw timeout exception. It means that this wait command did not complete in the specified time. That's it. For example, here we have given the condition visibility of element located in this much amount of time. Here we have written like 5 seconds, right? So if in the 5 seconds that pop-up is not displayed, then it will throw timeout exception. Okay. So in your script, when you ever get this exception, first check how much weight you have added, like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, or how much. And you also confirm with your project manager or with your client that what is the performance we are expecting for our website. Like the page should be loaded in maximum 5 seconds or 10 seconds or what, right? How much time it should take. So you define the weight based on that only. If the client has said that our page performance should be like in 5 seconds, a whole page should be displayed, right? It means that all the elements should be loaded in the page within the 5 seconds. So in your script, you should not give wait for of more than 5 seconds, right? If your script fails at any particular time or for a particular element, and you get this timeout exception for more than 5 seconds, then you should raise it. Then you should raise a bug that this element is not loaded within the 5 seconds. Okay, but obviously internet plays its part, but ideal you should get all the confirmation with them that with good internet your page will be loaded in 5 seconds, and if you get the timeout exception in this within the 5 seconds, there is a bug. This is the performance issue of a web page. So web scripts or the or this using this as well, we can find the performance issue as well. We can do the performance testing as well using the script. Okay, fine. Next is WebDriver exception. Next is WebDriver exception. What is WebDriver exception? WebDriver is acting immediately after closing the browser. So this is kind of like we have to, I have told you the difference between quit and close. The session not found works with, and this works with close. So whenever you are dealing with multiple tabs, and suppose that you have closed one tab and then you try to perform some operation. Let's say that in our tabs, using browser commands, right? So here we are closing the one of the tab at line number 28. And if I don't write this line, and I directly write browser commands.open URL, in that case, it will throw WebDriver exception, because we have to tell the WebDriver like on which window or on which tab it should perform the operation. So if you have closed any of the tab, then the next thing you have to do is that you switch to the active tab. You switch to the active tab or active window. Then after you perform the other operations, right? If you do not do that, then you will get WebDriver exception error. Okay, fine. खबर पड़ी? हेलो, सोई गया बता?
No.
ना खबर पड़ी? वरना पड़ी?
આ સુતા નથી એના માટે ના પાડ્યું તે
સારું. રિયા સુઈ ગઈ છે?
ના જાગું છું.
જાગે છે. હા તો બોલવાનું બરોબર, બોલવાનું રાખવાનું. Okay, so you got the idea, like when you will get the WebDriver exception. Okay, fine. So the remaining one was the still element reference exception. Does anybody have any idea related to stell element? Not the stell element reference to other stillness.
No idea.
No idea.
No.
Okay, fine. Still means that the element which or stillness, it means that something is not available at the moment. It was available. It was available few minutes ago, but now it's not now it's not available. Okay, and we are still trying to find that using the properties, or let's say using the properties which we have found when it was available. I know it's confusing. Let me again repeat. Let's say that there is a particular and there is a one element you have found. There's one element in a page with ID A. Okay. Instead of player, that's a login button. That's a login button. Is you are doing this. Okay. Now this element is present right now in the DOM page, in the page, and the WebDriver has find this element using this ID. It means that it has executed this line driver.find element by .id login button. Web element login is equal to this. Okay, fine. And here we are doing something. We are fetching some property of that one, like login dot get text, for example. Now let's say after some time, like after 2 minutes, this button gets invisible automatically, or it's not present. You have performed some operations on a page, and this login button is no longer present in the page. Let's say instead of login button, you have clicked on the register button. Instead of clicking on the login, you have clicked on register button. So when you click on register button, the WebDriver is navigated to some other page. Okay. Hello.
Yes.
WebDriver is is navigated to some other page. Now, when you are on this registration page, you try to fetch something. Again, you try to fetch something or of the login web element or that login link. So after navigating to registration page, you do this login.get text. So here what will happen? Here we will not get any exception, like no such element or nothing. We will not get any type of exception because that statement was already executed on the home page. On the home page, this line was already executed by the WebDriver. Here we are just using that variable one more time after navigating to registration page to fetch some details of this web element. Okay, so but we know on the registration page there isn't anything for the login. So in that case, we will get stale element reference exception. So here is the purpose served, that login element or that login link was available on the home page. On the home page, we did try.find element. So all the attributes or all the properties of that login link is stored in this variable login. Then after we navigate to registration page, and after navigating to registration page, we try to fetch the properties of the login link using the web element which we have find using this line try.find element using the older property, I means the older ones. उसके बाद जो जब वो अवेलेबल था उस टाइम पे हमने जो उसकी वैल्यू सारी फैच कर ली, लाइक उस टाइम पे हमने उसके सारे जो भी एट्रीब्यूट्स और द प्रॉपर्टीज व्हिच वी हैव फैच्ड, वी आर ट्राइंग टू फाइंड समथिंग from that after navigating to some other page. So at that time that we will get stale element reference exception. So as soon as you navigate to registration page, the login element is detached from the DOM or is no longer available or is no longer present inside the DOM. So here you will get stale element reference exception. It means that you are trying to refer some element which was present sometimes ago, but now it is not present. ठीक है, मतलब in short, in layman language, someone was alive at that time, you were able to fetch everything from them. But when someone, when the same person has passed away, and still you are trying to fetch something from them, it means that it will give you an error like no reference or no human is found with this name. It is kind of that. It's kind of that. We can say in that manner. Hello.
Yeah.
Kind of audio.
Audio.
What about Archita and Udit?
50-60% idea.
50-60% idea. Okay. In 50-60% idea. Archita, what about you? Archita, check in.
True.
What about you? खबर पढ़ी कि नहीं?
Padi. Yes.
पढ़ी ना? हाँ, पढ़ी. Okay. Udit, do you want me to repeat this?
No, I will go through the recording one more time and I will understand. No problem.
Okay, fine. Now you know what is style element reference exception, but how you will handle this? One more example I can give you over here. The live example for this stillness element.
તો જે એલિમેન્ટ ચેન્જ થઈ ગયો હોય, જે આઈ મીન જે અલાઇવ ના હોય એને ચેન્જ કરી દેવા.
Right. So here I have typed H. So in this one, haunted houses in UK, Hindu Act, blah 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 blah. ठीक है, चलो. Holi, Happy Holi 2022. આ બધું છે. All right. We are getting all these results. When we type second element, this list gets updated. Okay. Happy Holi, everyone. So all the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the elements is updated. The list gets updated. So each time the properties or the attributes of all this element gets updated. So in that case as well, you will get style element reference exception, because as you type something, the list gets updated. Happy Holi, right? Let's say right now the fourth element is Happy Holi codes. So driver.find element, in the driver.find element, this is stored Happy Holi codes. But as soon as I type something over here, I have typed 2, and now I'll do कि भाई मुझे उसकी जो भी वैल्यू थी कोड्स की गेट टेक्स्ट करता हूँ, तो at that time it will throw style element reference exception, because in this case the elements is present. Element is not like it's not been passed away or it's not detached, but the property of this element is updated. Okay, here when we say property, it means the actual text is updated. Previously it was codes, now it is 2022 date, and we were expecting codes. So this is one of the other example of style element reference exception. Okay, so how to handle the style element reference exception? Always do driver.find element. If you have to again search for that element. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so this is about the exceptions. I don't have any examples to show you that how to handle, but how to handle this, let's try and catch flow. For the style element reference, just do driver.find element one more time whenever you get it. All right, fine. For the style element reference exception, I will give you a little demo as well tomorrow. Okay, but for the rest of the one, it is self-explanatory and you can handle it by your own. So tomorrow we'll start with the frameworks. No, not the frameworks. How to read data from Excel file, and a little demo on the style element reference and some theory about the automation framework. All right.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, this is it for today's session.